To our next item of business. There was nothing to report out on closed session this evening. Our open session, let's see. This meeting is recorded for live streaming and archiving on the district YouTube channel. So we appreciate that that is still being done. And the Pledge of Allegiance is next. And I was actually, you know what, I'm going to call on a student. Would you mind standing? And you can all stand, because we're going to stand anyway. And just lead us in the pledge, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, guys. That was great. Okay. Chair is slipping on my chair. Okay, I'd like to see if we have an approval of the agenda as written.
I move that we approve the agenda as written.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Can we get a roll call, please, Mrs. Martinez?
President Seda,
Yes.
Trustee Ferrucci,
Yes.
Trustee Maselli,
Yes.
and Trustee Grubbs.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 8, this is a meeting that we have to do once a year, and it's our annual organizational meeting of the governing board, where we confirm our officers for our next calendar year for 2022. So I'm not exactly sure. The 8.1.1 is confirmation of president. So do I have a motion to approve myself as president of our board?
I move that we approve President Zada for 2022 for school board.
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Next is 8.1.2 is confirmation of our clerk, Dr. Gethsemane Moss. She is unavailable this evening, but we're going to talk about this evening. So do we have a motion
I'll
to?
move to approve Gethsemane as clerk for the 2022 school year.
I'll
Wonderful.
second that.
Okay, great. Moving on. The third thing, 8.1.3, is confirmation of the chief assistant to the superintendent as secretary of our governing board. And do we have confirmation of Georgina Martinez as secretary to the governing board?
I'll move to approve Georgina Martinez as secretary to the board.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
So you still have to take our phone.
And a roll call, I guess, is, well, actually, we should have probably done a roll call on all of
We could do it all.
as a, okay, so we need a roll call vote on all 3 items, please.
Sorry, that 1-7 there. There was a glitch in my system all of a sudden. It
Oh,
logged me out, so let me log back in.
tick tock, tick tock.
It's not working. Okay, I'm going to do it manually. So President Seda,
Yes.
Trustee Ferrucci,
Yes.
Trustee Maselli,
Yes.
and Trustee Grubbs.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. We're going to move on to our next item. Is 9.1, board member liaison representative. So anyway, to make this understand for you guys out there, we have different boards that we are also a part of, that we attend their meetings and we report back, right?
Committee.
Committees. And there's a lot of different ones that we participate in. So at this point, we're going to see who is going to be on which committee. And the first one up is our representatives to Solano County School Boards Association. Do I have a first, or do I have a person that would like to take that on?
I've done it. I'll do it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a, can we get a first on that particular one?
Can I make a request that we go through and do them all and then approve them all at the same time like we just did the officers?
Sure,
Because
that's
if you go
fine.
through,
Yeah.
you'll see all the descriptions.
Yes, that's fine.
That's
Yes,
solid.
let's do that. Okay, the second one is district and city liaison,
I'd like to do that.
and I'd like to do that.
And you need two, so.
Perfect. Okay. Next item is Benicia Youth Action Committee, and you need one, and I would like to do that.
Cool.
The following one is Valero Community Advisory Panel. We need 2 folks to participate in that.
I'd like to stay with that this year. I was just elected to be the chairman moving forward, so.
Cool.
But that one
Okay.
also requires a backup person, so a second board person.
Maybe we can talk to Gethsemane too.
She is the person from this past year, so if you guys are good with that, we could just
That'd be
leave her
fine,
as
yeah.
Pat.
Or Cece, did you want to be part of that?
No, I'd like to be part of the next.
Okay, so I'm gonna pencil her in here.
So for Valero, we have Diane and.
And
Yosemite.
Yosemite again,
Thank you.
right.
Okay, our next one is board policy. We need 2 folks on that committee.
I'd like to be on it.
Okay, Cece. And do I have a second person?
I've done it. I'll do it.
Okay, Mark. I know how much you like all that. Our next item is District Curriculum Council. Excuse me, we need 2 people. Oh, no takers.
I'll stay with that one if no one else wants it.
Okay, is there a second? I'm currently on it right now, but I'd like to be able to share the wealth.
Somebody else want to be on it? It's nice to have a second person because if one misses. you can get it. I'm looking at you, Cece.
Yes. We're all
Well, you
eyeballing
have
it.
But you don't have
No,
to.
no, I was on it, sorry. I was on it for years as a teacher, so yeah, okay.
Okay,
Okay, cool.
thank you.
They meet a lot, so it helps to,
Oh, yeah, that's true too.
well, if you remember,
Uh-oh.
we were,
They do online. It's been online.
right, it's been online.
So, our next one is Facilities Steering Committee.
I'd like to stay with that if there's someone else that wants to join me.
How often does it meet?
You know, I think last year we had one meeting, and then the year before we were pretty busy. I figure at least one a quarter. I mean, and that's,
Okay, I'll do it.
Okay.
and they're
thank you.
during the day, Mark, so it would be,
Ooh,
it's been like a lunchtime meeting.
that's gonna be rough.
It could be 9 o'clock in the morning too.
And it
She's
could be
been
9
doing
o'clock in the
late.
morning.
Yeah,
too.
maybe not, because obviously I'm in school.
Okay.
You know.
Let's see if we can get Gethsemane maybe on that. I'll mark her down as a possibility.
Okay.
And our last one is the Benicia Education Foundation, which is a foundation that raises money for our schools and all that good stuff. And I hope that we get back to that this year. Who would like, and we only need 1 person. Would anybody like to be on that? It's an evening meeting once a month, usually here. Okay. I've been on it before, and you come also too, Charles, right?
Yep.
I can put myself down. And we'll go forward. So at this time, I'd like to find out if the nominations and appointments of the board members, if there's a first down that we could figure out if that, I can't even talk tonight. What the heck?
Sherry, could,
Doing good.
Sherry, can we just do a quick review so we make sure we're
Sure.
watching what Georgina has?
Excellent idea.
For Representative of Solano County School Boards, I have Mark Maselli.
Uh-huh,
For District City Liaison, I have Trustee Grubbs and Trustee Seda.
yes,
For Benicia Action Council, I have Seda.
uh-huh,
For Valero, I have Trustee Ferrucci and Trustee Moss.
yep,
For Board Policy Committee, I have Trustee Grubbs and Maselli.
okay,
For District Curriculum Council, I have Trustee Ferrucci and Grubbs. For Facility Steering Committee, I have Ferrucci and Moss. And for the Benicia Education Foundation, I have President Zeta.
You got it. Okay, so now could we have a motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve our committee appointments for the 21-22 school year.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. And can we get a roll call vote, please, Mrs. Martinez?
Yes, President Zeta,
Yes.
Trustee Ferrucci,
Yes.
Trustee Maselli,
Yes.
Trustee Grubbs.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on. Blah.
Harder to organize up.
It's a lot, it's a mouthful. 9.2, our next item, approval and adoption of the Board of Education regular board meeting. Oh, it's like not on my calendar. It was split into 2 pages. Sorry, guys. The calendar. And I think we all got a copy of the calendar. Do I have a first to accept the calendar as written?
We changed it. We did the 21st.
Okay. It's not the 21st?
It says April 7th on the calendar.
Right, so we wanted to
Oh.
because it was
So it's April 7th?
Right.
Okay, I'll change. So with that change, correct?
Right.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the calendar as written?
I'll move to accept the calendar as written.
Thank you. And do we have a second? Thank you. Roll call, please. Yes.
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 Okay, great. Thank you. We're rolling here. Reports, item number 10. We have our student reports, and we do have a change in the person that's going to be presenting. It's Dylan Villanueva, and you're going to be talking on behalf of Benicia High School. Welcome.
Thank you. So we have finals coming up the short week before Christmas, and next week we have a very busy week, but at the same time we are trying to take care of our students and help prepare them before finals. So we have a wellness week starting next week, going on through the whole week, with Monday starting out as Mindful Monday, where PJs and we will be showing a movie. Tuesday, we have Tea Time Tuesday. We will be serving tea and scones. Wednesday, we will have Unwind Wednesday, a snowball fight in the gym. And Thursday, we have Therapeutic Thursday, which we will have coloring books in the quad. And Friday, we'll have a little fun with some Christmas karaoke and ugly sweaters.
Cool.
Yes. We also have a wreath decorating contest going on between our access classes, so teachers and students can collaborate and create a wreath for their class, and students will get to vote on which is their favorite. And we also have a canned food and coat drive going on next week, before and after school at Rayleigh's and in front of the school. And then lastly, we have Adopt a Family, which our staff can take ornaments if they choose to, and we will be providing gifts for 3 families, and we will deliver the gifts later in the month. And talent show signups are due on the 15th. That's all.
Gosh, that's excellent. You guys have a full plate. There are lots of fun things, though, before the holidays. So, and I love the adopting a family member or a person. I think that's awesome. So thank you for being here and sharing your information with us. And next I have, let's see, which page am I on? Alice Wells from Liberty High School. Hello.
Hello, and good evening, President Zeta, Superintendent Dr. Young, and fellow trustees and cabinet members. I'm Alice, and I'm from Liberty, and we're currently planning our end of the semester Spirit Week. Monday, it's Crazy Sock Day. Apparently, we're trying to do Christmas theme, but just go crazy socks. If you have Christmas ones, I guess do those. But Tuesday is festive hats, so some kind of Christmassy one. It doesn't necessarily have to be a hat. It can be like antlers, elf ears, stuff like that. And then Wednesday is sports apparel because Mr. Nelson insisted last Spirit Week to have a sports apparel day, and then he was gone that day. And so now we're having it again. So that's just on Mr. Nelson. Thursday's ugly sweaters, and then Friday is our winter carnival. And I believe every classroom has about 2 games that they created that we're going to be doing, and we're going to be switching classrooms kind of thing. And then we have like lights in the hallway and stuff, and it's super pretty.
Nice.
Next week, our finals will take place, and it's the last week before we go on break. This will wrap up the end of our first semester, and we wish everyone good luck. Hopefully it goes good. We are proud to announce that 2 more seniors have graduated early. We are very proud of them, and we wish them the very best.
That is awesome.
Hey.
Yeah. This week, we completed snowflakes that wished others gifts of happiness and joy. We have these snowflakes displayed throughout our hallway as a reminder that the gift of kindness is always free. And lastly, we want to wish everyone a happy, safe, and restful winter break, and we look forward to seeing everyone in the new year. Thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here every week. It's always nice to, or every month, every meeting, let's say that. Yes, whenever it falls. We certainly appreciate the schools taking part and being here with us. So I really thank you so much, and good luck on the finals, and you're going to do fine. And Mr. Nelson lucks out this year, right? So, okay, thank you. So we're going to have you stick around just for a couple more minutes. Our next item up is our Superintendent Report, Dr. Young.
Thank you very much. Good evening, board and everybody in attendance and the team, cabinet. A couple of quick things for me. So this is the time of the year where typically the school board would go to the California School Boards Association's conference. But we didn't go down there this year because we didn't want to travel. But it's virtual and they've taped it. And so a quick comment today. I was sat in on the opening speaker. His name is Dr. Victor Rios. Man, that was like one of the best opening speakers I've heard in 11 years. It was so inspiring. He's a professor, I think, at University of California, Santa Barbara, and he works in the teacher education program. Briefly, he has this story that he tells in a very compelling way about growing up in a very difficult area in Los Angeles, a great deal of poverty. He was in a gang, and how he makes his way out of that. And one of the seminal figures in his life that turned him around was, guess who? A teacher. And the man has written like several books, and in one of his books is a chapter dedicated to this teacher who took time out of her life just to come up to him and said, Victor, you know, if you need to turn your life around, you need to do the work, but I will support you. And it was that moment with her that made a difference. And he tells a so powerful story that when he finished at Cal Berkeley and got his PhD, and then he went to the bank because he wanted to buy a home. And as he tells the story, he gets the bank loan. And then he goes down to Los Angeles and sees his mother in the same little house that they grew up in. And said, Mom, I just want to tell you that I bought a house for you. And I'm sorry it took me 30 years to do it. Man, it was so powerful. If you ever Google the guy or see his books, it's worth knowing about him. But that role of the teacher is so powerful. So thanks for letting me share that. Wanted to point out that one of our wonderful trustees, Dr. Moss, is now working for Senator Dodd's office, which is cool. And Ms. Martinez sent us an article on that recently, and she's kind of plays this communication role for the senator. So that's certainly good for her, and good for the school district because they have our ear because she's listening and participating for us. So I thought that was great. And the other thing, this is a gift it'll come up under gifts, but I just wanted to point this out that the Valero gave the Benicia Unified School District to pay for our STEAM wheel program $60,000, which is pretty much over double what they usually give us, because what they did is they reduced the number of organizations that they gave money to. So incredibly grateful to that organization and their support of us. And when we were up there listening, it'll come to gifts. When we were up there listening, last point, there were groups up there talking because they were getting donations. And man, it really restored, not that I've lost it, but it boosted my faith in mankind, because there were people up there from these organizations that do things for the community. and so selfless, like building parks that are for handicapped children. Just amazing people and support systems for kids. So it's great to see that. So thank you, Valero. And that'll come up under gifts, so I won't have to go on and on about it there. But I did want to do that here. So thank you, Valero. So thanks.
Yes.
And that's it.
Okay. Then we're going to move on to board reports. I echo what Dr. Young said about the gentleman that did the opening this morning for the CSBA conference. It was very touching and heartwarming, and what a genuine soul. I would just love to sit and have a cup of coffee with him. I mean, just a amazing speech that he gave, and it was, I'm so glad I had the opportunity to hear him speak. And that's pretty much all I was going to share. And again, I echo again also what Dr. Young said about Valero. Thank you. Beyond great. And do any of our other board members have anything to say that they would like to share?
Well, I'd like to echo my appreciation for Valero. I was actually there that morning. So it was quite an honor, and it was humbling when you listen to the stories of some of these people that were being awarded monies to support children. It was to just know that they thought that much of our community and the children in our community. It really was a humbling experience. And I'm very grateful that they have a great partnership with us, and that they see us as being a real integral part of the community. So I just wanted to say thank you. So
thank you for sharing that. Okay, seeing there's no other comments, we're going to move ahead onto, before I do that, I'm going to invite our two students up here that give them the opportunity to leave if they have homework and stuff. They're welcome to stay, but we give you this time to say ta-ta for now. Thank you. Have a good holiday, you guys.
thank you.
Happy holidays, man.
All righty. Now we have comments from members of the public, and I actually only, let's see, I'm going to read this first, sorry. BUSD has moved to in-person board meetings. We ask that members of the public who wish to attend, including those who wish to address the board, wear a mask at all times. All functions of the board meeting, including public comments, will take place in person. Members of the public may address the board at a regular meeting on any item within the board's jurisdiction. Speaker cards are available at the back table. Please note the item you wish to speak to and submit a card to the board secretary. The board president will call all the open session public comments not on the agenda during the public comment item. Comments for items on the agenda will be called during the specific item. Comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes per speaker, or the board may limit the total time to 20 minutes per item. By law, no action may be taken on any item raised during the public comment periods, and matters may be referred to staff for placement on a future agenda of the governing board. And we'd like to please be reminded to keep your comments respectful, as students may be watching the board meeting. Thank you. And I do have one general public comment. Lisa Delafort, got it. Delorifus. Okay. Thank you.
Hi. So I'm coming just kind of just to let you know what I'm going to be doing next month, just to give you a heads up. So next month, I will be making a request to have 5th grade students at Mary Farmer attend science camp at Mission Springs. This program provides hands-on science curriculum to the students. It is a safe, educational, and supportive program where students thrive. Many students who struggle in the classroom find their comfort and success at science camp. In the past, it has helped me build and strengthen my relationship with my students. And the past 2 years have been difficult, and giving our students the chance to attend such a positive and beneficial program would add joy to their year. I have not been able to secure a date without approval from the board, so I will be using spring 2022 as the date and will notify the district as soon as a date has been decided. I have been in contact with the director of Mission Springs schools, and schools are attending and protocols are in place. All Mission Springs staff must be vaccinated or tested weekly. All staff and guests must complete a health check and temperature check prior to arrival and daily each morning. All staff and guests are required to wear masks indoors except while sleeping and eating. All staff and guests are required to wear masks outdoors but may drop it down to catch breath while hiking, which will be necessary, and or playing a game with physical exertion. Any staff or guests with COVID-19 symptoms are isolated and removed from camp as soon as possible. Guest members are being kept to a minimum in order to allow for less people per cabin. Our school would be going by themselves. There wouldn't be no other school there.
Okay.
There will be less people in the dining room, smaller class sizes. The entire program is outdoors except for meals and sleeping. During meals, extra ventilation is ensured. Students will be eating with just the people in their cabin, so it will be in that 4 to 6 group without masks, so it'll be a small group. Cabins are self-contained motel rooms with 4 to 6 guests per room. That includes, sometimes will include an adult, but they are included in that 4 to 6. And cabins are equipped with windows that may be open for extra ventilation, and there is really good heating, so even with the windows open, you'll be warm enough. And I did make copies of their protocols so that next month, when you get my request, you have those available. Okay, thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to us, Lisa. Okay, do I have, so we already did all of our things. The next item is our consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered by the board to be routine and will be approved by the board in one motion. There will be no discussion on these items unless members of the board, staff, or public request specific items to be pulled and discussed. So the first item is approve.
The whole calendar.
Can I get a motion to accept the consent calendar as written?
I move that we accept the consent calendar as written.
Okay, thank you. Second. Okay, roll call, please. Yes.
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 Okay, great. So the first item up is the meeting minutes of our November 18th meeting. Do I have a first?
No, we just did them all.
Oh, we're doing.
It's all done.
I'm so sorry.
All right.
Because I have separate notes here. So item 12.3, there's a resolution. Okay. Pardon me? Okay. Okay. So do I have can we have a roll call on 12.3? Yes.
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 And that was for resolution number 21-22-15. Okay. Next is, let's see. Oh, we're moving right on. 12.5, you had discussed this at during your board report. Okay, excellent. So we're going to move on to item number 13, communication informational items. First up is new expanded universal transitional kindergarten planning for next year. And I'd like to invite Dr. Beetson to speak on this.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me back to talk about our update on Universal TK, or UTK as it's now known. Some of the information I want to share tonight is information I've already gone over with you, so I'll go through that pretty quickly. If you have any questions, please feel free to stop and ask. But I wanted to give you an update on where we were in our planning. So as you know, the governor passed some legislation that is requiring us to expand our current TK program over the course of the next several years, every year moving forward will expand by 2 months. And so that by the year 25, 26, all 4-year-olds, that students that are 4 by September 1st will be eligible to enroll in our TK program. We know that there are some programmatic shifts that we're doing, and we're talking with our current teachers about what that will look like, and we'll provide training and curriculum and things that they need for that. I also reported that we, with Mr. Rayhill and Miss Egan and the principals, walked the sites to really look at our current structure. And so that's really what I'm going to focus on this evening. But just to remind you, there is a slide in here that shows the age progression over the course of the next several years, and this begins next year. So next year, we will have students that are 5 between September 2nd and February 2nd. We are planning that we will probably have 2 more TKs. The reason we came up with that number, because we don't really know until enrollment happens, is currently there's 3 months that students can turn 5, September, October, November, and we have 3 TKs. And so we're sort of using that logic to plan for, with an addition of 2 more months, likely we'll have enough for 2 more TKs, but we will know shortly when enrollment begins. We do believe that by the time the 25-26 school year rolls around, that our TK will be a pretty equivalent to the size of a kindergarten, first grade, second grade enrollment. And so that's kind of the difference that you're seeing on that slide there. And then we needed to have a conversation. Oh, before I even talk about this slide, I want to let you know that we had a meeting with our elementary principals, of course, and with Ms. Regis, Director of Early Childhood and Adult Ed, because this will affect her program as well. We met with the current TK teachers to get input from them and talk about that with them. Last week, we had a Zoom meeting with, we invited any of the other TKs in town, not TKs, I'm sorry, the pre-Ks in town to come and kind of just hear. We wanted to be a good neighbor and let them know that this was coming and what that rollout would look like. We actually had the county come because our county hasn't initiated at this moment any of the information. They're starting something later this month or in January to give information, and so they're going to steal some of the work that we've done on that. And then next week, and then again in January, we're going to have some informational Zoom meetings for potential TK parents, just to learn about what the program so they can make an informed decision. Now on to this part. So as we walked the campuses, we looked at who had available space currently. And really, Matthew Turner at this moment is the only school that has current space that can be relatively easily transferred into 2 additional classrooms. In talking with Ms. Egan and with Mr. Rayhill, it would be very difficult if we had to get a portable, to get that portable here, built, done by the beginning of next year, because you have to think that everybody in the state is starting to do this. And so we had a lot of conversation about how do we do this in a way that is the least disruptive, the most efficient, both for human resources and financial resources. And so we know that we can fit 2 classrooms at Matthew Turner for next year. The other pieces that we had a lot of conversation about were, currently we don't have a TK at Mary Farmer because we only have 3 TKs. However, they're starting a pretty major modernization project beginning next year, and it is not advisable to add more classroom and more students at this particular moment because there will be other disruptions and things that need to happen. And so it makes sense to kind of push that out a little bit. Those families already go to other TKs, and then they can go back to their school for their kindergarten on up. So you can see the outer years. This is tentative. It's not 100% set in stone, but the other piece that we talked about was if we have to build portables on a site. So for instance, Robert Semple right now has no extra space. We've identified a space that we potentially could put a couple of portables for the additional 2 projected TKs that will go there, but it doesn't make sense to do one there, one and then one across town at another elementary school in the same year because for efficiency of finance and human resources and disruption, you would probably put them both at the same place and then move on to the next school the following year. And so that's the thought process at this time, is that we would start next year with Turner because they already have existing space. The other schools, we will likely need to do some work to get some space, to look at playground space and all of those other components. And so that's our thinking at this time. And I just wanted to bring you up to speed on where we are at this moment and see if you had any questions.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions regarding?
Yeah, Tim, I was wondering about the funding. Is it going to be, last time we talked about it, when it was just still in the early stages, we didn't know if it's going to be, you know, the standard ADA model, you know, because we're going to have to hire people to do it. So the state has to, you know, I'm very much hoping this is not an unfunded mandate, which tends to be a federal government thing, but still.
Yeah, we haven't gotten that level of detail
Still, okay.
yet. So Governor Newsom's January budget proposal should have more detail about how he is going to propose to fund the TK program, which right now has been presented to have basically 2 adults in a classroom of 24. So basically 1 adult for every 12 kids in a TK setting, which we've been talking about having a certificated teacher
Right.
plus an instructional aide. But as far as funding goes, we have not seen any numbers on that yet. We'll see. I'm not sure if we'll get any numbers before the winter break, but definitely the first week in January. By January 18th is the state budget workshop. And so, you know, by the first part of January, we'll know about the program funding. On the facility funding.
And that was going to be my next question,
Yes.
facility funding.
So that's the next thing. So that is in the works. Details have yet to come. They want to focus on the higher free and reduced percentages, the ones that have concentration of those populations, which Benicia does not. However, we do have 2 Title I elementary schools with Simple and Farmer. And so that's why we think after Turner, maybe we go for Simple because maybe we'll be able to get funding sooner. Okay. But we don't know that yet, and that'll come out over the next month or so too. We have a little bit of time on the facility side. We're definitely more interested on the operational side for the 22-23 school year.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for that information. Anybody else have questions?
I have one left because Mark just addressed the 2, because that's good to hear that there's hope of money, because at that last meeting that I shared with you, we were basically told it's an unfunded mandate. So that was alarming to hear. My other question was, and I'm just curious, what are you estimating to be the number of children sitting in pre-K now that potentially are eligible for TK?
Do you mean in our own?
Well, our own, or if you
across?
were able to get, you know, more information. Do you have any idea what that number?
I don't, my assumption is if parents have a choice to come to a free TK versus paying for another year of
Right.
preschool, they probably
Oh, yeah.
will choose that. And we're just assuming that the number of students that we will get will be relatively equipped, because we run between 250 and 300 students, about 300 students per grade level. So I think by the time we're done, I would imagine most of those students will come to TK.
Okay. So
Great
even on our
sense.
pre-K classes, that's where our numbers are?
Even on our,
In our pre-K classes,
in our,
the numbers are that high?
Like our preschool?
Our
you mean?
preschool classes are
right,
not.
no, our current ones that are in our current preschool, they're not.
This would be
Okay.
everybody from all
This-
preschools.
All preschools across the
provided
town.
in.
So we're assuming within our city, we'll have another grade level of students.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm misunderstanding your question.
Yeah, nope, that's okay. That's what I was.
We are having that conversation with Ms. Regis next Wednesday. Dr. Gill's joining us in regards to, you know, those types of questions, the counts, and how, you know, if that population moves out of preschool into TK, how do we adjust our preschool program if those 4-year-olds aren't showing up for
Right.
preschool anymore and they're going into
And I guess that's my other concern is because we've put so much into our preschool program and we've added classrooms. So now looking at space and then also some of our employees that are, especially the aides, which I would say could be slide over to TK and if not. So, I mean, it seems like there's going to be a lot of overlap and a lot of shifting is what I'm kind of sensing.
And yes, and the conversation among many preschools in town and childcares in town is perhaps, and I know this was coming out from the state as well, is that they may be looking to scoop up younger students.
Mhm.
So they would go back one more year to open up for that.
Well, and there's also going to be, I would assume, a need for June's program in the afternoon after TK is done, because that's what's happening in preschool now. The children have their program and then they stay the rest of the day. It becomes their daycare experience. So
In our meeting, we also had a couple community members who run not necessarily a child care, but like Brickspace, Fari
Right,
Co
right.
came,
Oh, yeah.
because all, when you peel the onion, it affects a lot of
a lot of different
Yes, it
pieces.
does.
different people.
Okay,
Thank you.
sorry, I just see all of this kind of like, after building all that up, it's like,
Those were good questions. And we look forward to hearing about what you find out next week and seeing this come to fruition. I mean, that's going to be some big changes, but welcome ones, I think. Okay, so thank you, Dr. Beetson. Next item, we're going to move on to 14. We're going to move on to our non-consent action items. Although the first one is an action item. 14.1, consideration and approval of the resolution number 21-22-11. And I think Tim Rahill is going to talk about this with us.
You bet. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Yeah, this is for your action tonight. And this is an annual thing that we do. It's each year the school board, you're just asked to approve this resolution. It certifies our annual accounting for our developer fees here in our city related to school facilities. So when something new is built, there is a school fee charged. And for the 2021 school year, those total expenses were $14,370. So we're asking the board to approve this resolution, just certifying that dollar amount as our annual accounting for developer fees for the 2021 school year in accordance with the government code.
Okay, thank you. Were there any questions? Okay, do I have a motion on the table? Can I get a motion on the table?
I'll move to approve resolution number 21-22-11 as presented.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
President Zeta,
Yes.
Trustee Perucci.
Yeah.
Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
Trustee Groves.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to item 14.2, consideration of resolution number 21-22-14. And again, I'm going to ask Timothy Rahill to discuss this one with us as well.
Yes, this is also for your action tonight. And currently, as a school board member, you're provided the statutory allowed school board stipend of $240 per month. And it's at the board's discretion to consider providing up to that annual 5% increase to the monthly school board stipend that school boards throughout the state of California provide to its school board members. And so the total annual cost for the entire year for that 5% increase to the district is $720. And so tonight, the recommended motion is for the school board to consider and approve this resolution to provide that increase to the school board stipend.
Okay, thank you. And is this something that will automatically come back every year at this time, now that we've discussed it this year?
Yes, this would be an annual election. So this would be the monthly amount moving forward, and then it will stay that amount until in 1 year, the board will have the
Revisit.
to revisit.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion on the table? Can I get a motion on the table?
I'll move that
14.2.
The approval of 14.2 to provide increase to current school board stipends for school board members.
I'll second that.
Can we get a roll call, please?
President Seda,
Yes.
Trustee Ferrucci,
Yes.
Trustee Maselli, and
Yes.
Trustee Grubbs.
Yes.
Pardon me.
Okay, thank you. Item 14.3, consideration and approval of educator effectiveness grant plan. Dr. Beetson.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
So last board meeting, I brought to you the educator effectiveness plan. We're getting about $900,000 to be spent over the next several years. As you recall, there were multiple buckets that this funding could be spent in, and our proposal is in alignment with our current LCAP. And what it does is it actually extends into some outer years some of the actions and service we were able to start with some one-time funding, primarily in coaching and mentoring, standards aligned instruction for intervention staffing, and professional learning for teachers. There have been no changes since I presented that last time, so this is an action item for you, and our recommendation is to approve the educator effectiveness plan as presented. Do you have any questions for me?
Is your mic on?
No, it's not on. I had a question as I was going through this, and forgive me for not getting to it sooner on. I can't remember which slide it was, but there was 72,000 allocated to teacher training and 400,000 allocated to administrators training.
So it's
So I was just-
induction and administrator. So it's teacher induction on that one, Ms. Grubbs, under coaching and mentoring. So 72,000 was for some stipends for teachers to do some support in literacy coaching at our elementary level. We started years ago with reading, writing workshop, and we are seeing that need to continue. And then the other 400,000 is for teacher induction and administrator coaching, which is something that we are able to do for our new teachers and our new administrators.
When they have to pay for it on their own, that's terrible.
Yes, okay.
Are there any other questions? Okay, can I get a motion, please?
I'll move to approve the educator effectiveness grant as presented.
And can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, and roll call vote.
President Seda,
Yes.
Trustee Ferrucci,
Yes.
Trustee Maselli,
Yes.
and Trustee Grubbs.
Excellent, thank you. Last item on the agenda is 14.4, Governing Board Review and Approval of the 21-22 First Interim Financial Report for the Benicia Unified School District. Again, Mr. Rayhill.
Thank you. Again, we have this item for your action tonight to review and approve our first interim financial report for this school year. We have some projections in here as well. We start with looking at the key fiscal factors. We have this up right now, which is the PowerPoint. Can we start with the Excel document, please? The Excel. And then down at the bottom, we can click on the different tabs. Great. And so we look at our key fiscal factors. These are kind of the some of the main driving points as school districts put their budgets together. And we start with known salary costs throughout the current 2021-22 school year, which is in the first column. And then the outer columns are for the next 3 years going out. And so we have our salary schedules, and as our staff moves up in the salary schedule, that's some added costs in regards to our employee retirement systems. Those systems are experiencing increased rates in the current and future years. And then from time to time, we also experience increases in other benefits such as unemployment, which got impacted due to the COVID pandemic. Sometimes it's on the negative. In some cases, in this 21-22 year, our workers' comp rate did see a positive side there. Our other number 2 in adjusting other revenues and expenses some of our special funds that we received. Obviously, during the COVID pandemic, the state and the federal government came through with some one-time funds for COVID-19. And we have put our plans together as documented in our LCAP and have received and are spending those over the current year. And you'll be hearing more on the 22-23 year. In addition to that, you'll probably see some develop in the outer years as well, which we'll have more information on in January. Not quite sure how much, but you'll be seeing a lot more detail on 22-23 in January. In the next section, number 3, consider LCFF factors. LCFF is our local control funding formula. That's the biggest pot of money. That's how the state of California funds public school districts through the LCFF. It's a per student funding. It's based on their attendance, not just on their enrollment, but obviously, attendance is in direct correlation with enrollment. So if we're declining enrollment, it's safe to say we have declining ADA funds as well. So what happened in 21-22 is the state kind of held us harmless for the COVID pandemic when the kids, some kids weren't showing up. We weren't taking attendance for that year, and so we got held harmless. But next year in 22-23, at this point in time, they're not going to hold us harmless, and we're going to feel the impact of our declining enrollment. So right now, we are planning to take a big hit in LCFF funds, the reduction of about 262 students. We will see if there's any type of conversation or proposal from Governor Newsom to help minimize what Benicia is experiencing, because we're kind of like most other districts in California who will have this declining enrollment catch up with them in 22-23. So it'll be interesting to see if there's some relief, not only just for, it's not just happening here throughout the whole state. There's a declining enrollment going on. Some districts aren't, but most districts are. And then again, what we've also done is we're also building in, like Dr. Beetson said earlier, with the addition of TK, 2 TK classes a year, which would be about 48 kids. So we are building that in. So even though those numbers are negative, they would be even a bigger decrease if we hadn't built in those TKers, which we have put in here. So just a note to keep in mind. We'll keep our eyes and ears open for any comments in the governor's January proposal about what he might do in regards to declining enrollment. Again, in January, it's just the governor's proposed budget. It goes through the next several months at the state legislature back and forth. When the governor comes out with a revision called the May Revise in May, which then the legislature works hard and fast on through May and June to get a state budget by the end of June. So, but January proposal is what we kind of build our budget on moving forward. Number 4 is we adjust staffing as our enrollment numbers come in up and down with the students that we have. Our cost of living allowance, this 21-22 school year at 5.07%. In the outer years, so we're going to watch this very closely as well. We're using the last published amounts down there. The cost of living adjustment is what the is a calculation on the price of things, and that is also applied to our funding. And so right now you can see it's in the 2.5% to 3% in the outer years. And so we're hearing that might increase, and we'll know again with the January budget proposal. And so as we apply all of that into our local control funding formula down at the bottom, you can see basically in 22-23, because of our declining enrollment, we have less students, less attendance. We'd actually take a hit on our LCFF funds. So we use all of that. The next tab is just a lot of numbers that just is it's more of a visual to remind us of our employee retirement pensions, and that there are increased costs there to make sure that those pensions have the funds available for when our employees retire. So our district is paying its added contribution into the systems, as are the employees are doing the same as well. On the next tab, we show our total revenues budgeted. Currently in the 21-22 budgets, we're just over 53 million. The big blue chunk at 76% is the LCFF, the amount the state brings to us for our student funding. There's a supplemental LCFF piece, $2 million as well for those students that fall within free and reduced lunch, our English learners, or our foster youth. So the rest is made up of other state and local funds. We compare our budgeted revenues onto the next tab, which is our budgeted expenditures, just under 55 million. And so the expenditures are more due to our carryovers. So we have received money in the past that weren't spent in those past years, and we carry those over into the current year to spend those according to the program plan. And so Benicia Unified, like most districts in public education, spends the majority of its funds on staffing, on teachers, counselors, administrators, classified folk, anywhere between 85 and to the low 90%, which is what we see here, with the remaining amounts spent on supplies and services. At the end of the year, based on those budgeted revenues and expenditures, the district provides for a positive certification on its report by providing the 3% reserve as required by the state and our local board policy reserve, in addition to the carryovers of one-time monies, some commitments for some ongoing costs, and those restricted programs at $2.4 million. We just summarize, again, we're required to do this with the current year and the outer 2 years to get that positive certification that we're able to meet our obligations in the current and outgoing 2 years, not only to pay all of our bills, but also to maintain those minimum reserves as well. And according to this plan, we're doing just fine. Obviously, we continue to monitor that declining enrollment, which is the biggest piece. And then in that extended year out, 24-25, we're really not required to report on that, but we're just going an extra year right now to say that's when, if everything continues on in, we'll have to take a closer look. But there'll be a lot of time and a lot of things that will change between now and that 24-25 school year. The next few slides, I'm almost towards the end here. We are just reminded of the many reasons why a school board maintains a reserve to provide for unforeseen circumstances that pop up from time to time. On the next slide, we dealt with cash deferrals in the past. When the state gave us IOUs, we needed to bank on that reserve to pay our bills and make payroll. And the last is a mini year scenario of our operating annual operations as well as our fund balance. And then just in summary, we'll go back to that PowerPoint. Georgina, thank you. And with each interim report, this is our first interim report. Just recently, we closed the books. The auditors came out and audited last year. You'll see that report will be presented to you in January. So we're just following up now on the current year. And on the next slide down, we are providing a positive financial certification using how that local control funding formula and providing that 3% reserve. As I mentioned earlier, that's how the state of California funds public schools through the LCFF. And right now we're almost at $10,000 per student. We're at $9,617. That's on average. They're a little bit different by grade level, but on average, that's their $9,617, which also includes that augmentation for our supplemental population that's in one of those three categories, free and reduced, English learner, or foster youth. And Benicia Unified has about 25% of our student population falls within one of those groups. So 1 out of every 4 students falls in one of those categories. And our next steps is, once approved by the school board, this first interim report gets filed with our Solano County Office of Education, as well as the California Department of Ed. And they do their reviews and file that report. And like I've been mentioning here, our next big financial piece of information comes out in January with the governor's proposal of a state budget for the following. It's a fiscal year, not a calendar year. They do it from July 1st through June 30th is how they keep track of their fiscal years. And so Governor Newsom in January, he gets a 6-month head start like we do on putting a budget together. So he has his Department of Finance at the state, and they crunch their numbers on taxes and expenditures. And they put Governor Newsom's January proposal budget together. And he says, you know, based on all this information, this is what I'm proposing, and this is what I think the state of California will be able to do and provide as of July 1, 2022. And we use that information because obviously in the state's budget, it's not only schools, but it's all of the other public agencies it serves. And so we pull out the school info and we come back and we drop that into our formulas and put our school district budget together and give you some highlights from that in January as we build our budget over the next 6 months so that you have something to adopt in June. We'll come back. On top of that, you'll get an official second interim report in March of 2022.
Thank you, Mr. Rahill. Anybody have any questions regarding some of these figures? And no? Okay, thank you so much. So then we want to see if we can get a motion.
I'll move that we approve the first interim report as presented.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
President Zeta,
Yes.
Trustee Ferrucci. Yeah. Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Grubbs. Yes.
Thank you. So at this point, it brings us to the end of our meeting. We almost got done in an hour. It's pretty good. Lots of information. I want to leave you with a happy holidays to everybody and to all of you watching from home. I just happy holidays, stay safe and be well, and we will see you at our next meeting on January 20th. Thanks, and the meeting is adjourned.